Holy Bruce Wayne, Batman. This one is a bit insane. So a movie had a $150 million budget. It had Oscar-winning actors, Hollywood stars, and a major director behind it. It was also released to thousands of cinemas across the United States and the Middle East. And something sort of weird happened. Nobody showed up. I'm not talking about it just flopping or like underperforming. It like basically vanished in real time. So like, how does a movie with this much money, this much talent, and this much backing just disappear? What even is this movie? When I first looked into it, I sort of expected it to be some like indie experimental vibe, you know, or some low budget historical film kind of. But no, this was a full-scale historical epic called Desert Warrior. Now, this is actually supposed to be inspired by some real events. So it's supposed to be this like 7th century conflict between Arab tribes and the Persian nation, which is now southern Iraq, if you're wondering. Think about it like Lawrence of Arabia vibes.
No prisoners.
I'm gonna give you a super heightened condensed version of the synopsis. A princess says, "No!" The emperor gets very angry.
All I want now is her head. Bring me that.
She escapes into the desert for an adventure. Anthony Mackie shows up, and then suddenly it's war. Roll credits. So why did anyone think this would actually succeed? Because again, on paper, this should be an obvious win, right? Major studio backing from NBC Studios. And you know, a real drive and ambition to get the Saudi film industry off the ground. Looking into it, in my eyes, this wasn't just a movie. It was sort of part of a bigger plan to prove that the Middle East and Saudi could compete with Hollywood. Then you have a little closer look at the cast and crew. Rupert Wyatt was directing this. If you don't know who that is, this is the guy that reboots the Planet of the Apes franchise, which is incredible. Ben Kingsley, who is an Oscar-winning actor. Anthony Mackie.
For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations.
Squeeze me? A baking powder?
Massive desert sets, practical effects. I do love practical effects. Let's just put that in there. Everything you would normally see from a safe blockbuster set. If you saw this before release, you probably wouldn't think this is gonna fail. You'd think something along the lines of like, worst case scenario, it does okay. Nobody, including myself, was prepared for what actually happened next. So here it is. What actually went wrong here? Because really, this is where things stop making sense. It took 5 years to make this movie. 5 years! Marvel made 20 movies in 10 years, and an entire cinematic universe was birthed, burnt down, and then argued about on X.
As far as I'm concerned, that's America's ass.
So, I mean, obviously, something was unstable behind the scenes. There's reports that vary from creative differences to production delays, script rewrites, which is a big no-no, as we know from Stranger Things. And the biggest of all, studio interference.
Huh?
When you look at all of those individually, it seems quite chaotic, but when you zoom out, the problem becomes clearer. I don't think anybody was actually making the same movie. And when that happens, no amount of cashola is gonna fix it. Because you can't VFX your way out of a story and a movie that doesn't emotionally land. That's why something like Dune worked so well. It has structure, mythology, character, and weight. You believe in Dune. I know I did. This is also where something doesn't connect, and it leads you to marketing. Or more accurately, the absolute lack thereof. Because bro, if nobody knows your movie exists, it doesn't matter how big it is. This is abysmal. Now again, this is oil money, and it is Saudi, and these guys are rich as fuck.
I'm rich.
So how badly do you think this actually flopped? This is a $150 million budget movie that released in over 1,000 theaters. And the opening weekend makes $472,000. Holy shit. No, that is not a typo. That is across its entire release. To put that in perspective, some YouTube sponsorships are better than that.
I want to feel like it's raining on me. Okay.
Now, if you thought that was bad, it gets worse. In Saudi Arabia, the home where it was made, $87,000. And across the whole region, only $227,000. My God! For a movie that was meant to help build an industry, it's basically nothing. And it's really strange because there was no backlash, there were no memes, there weren't any controversies. It didn't even fail loudly. It just didn't show up. And in a lot of respects, I think that might actually be way worse. I kept thinking to myself when looking at this, is like, how did nobody notice this happening? It wasn't just one failure, it was everything failing at once.
0. Triple B's. 0.
Firstly, there was no momentum, there was zero marketing push, different visions of the film competing against each other, which equates to characters that don't land, weird tonal shifts, and ultimately the story loses focus. The bigger problem here is the budget. Part of the money wasn't even just the movie. It was building infrastructure to train crews for a brand new film industry. Which, I mean, again, is ambitious, but it means the film itself gets stretched super thin. And finally, the timing. In a world where audiences have been exposed to films like Dune, which set the bar for desert epics, at an all-time high, anything that doesn't immediately connect gets left behind. Unfortunately, the result is simple. Nothing is technically broken, but nothing really works either. That's sort of why it disappeared. After looking at all of this, I think that's the part that sticks with me the most. Because Desert Warrior didn't fail like, most movies tend to fail. I mean, it didn't get review bombed. It didn't really spark any controversy. And, there were no new memes that were birthed from it. It sort of just released and then disappeared. And if you think about it, in today's internet, that's pretty rare. Almost everything leaves at least something behind. A reaction, a debate, a moment. But this didn't really leave anything at all. So I guess I'm so curious what you think. Was this just bad timing? Was it bad marketing? Or a case of like too much ambition and not enough focus? Or is this what silent failure actually looks like in modern cinema? Let me know in the comments below, because I don't think this is as simple as calling it a flop. So if you want more breakdowns like this, where we dig into movies, games, and internet stories that almost made sense but really didn't, subscribe, because I got a feeling that we're gonna see a lot more stories like this in the future.